Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Coach Richardson. This is another episode of Becoming Uncommon, and this is a special Meet a Falcon edition. And with me, I have Logan Smith, who is a young decathlete from Valencia High School. For me, again, looking at Becoming Uncommon and taking it to this level when I have meeting a Falcon is really special because we have a lot of very unique young student athletes, and I think it's important to kind of give them a platform to kind of give their story, put them in a position to get to know them. When I look back and I reflect on a lot of the student athletes I had in the past, I always think, man, it'd have been good if the world got to see and hear a little bit of their story before they moved on and kind of did some of the amazing things that they did. But with that, Logan, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, well, you said my name. My name is Logan Smith. I'm from Valencia High School in Placentia. I am a sophomore now. I've been doing the decathlon for 2 years. Um, I think the decathlon is a super great event for people who are looking to either kill themselves or try something that's super bold. And I think it stuck out to me because of the kind of environment that Cerritos has with the decathlon, with you being a past decathlete, not only at Cerritos, but also at Long Beach State and in the Olympic trials and everything. You have a big presence in the decathlon. And then I found some other athletes here who were super heavy about it, and it just drew me in. Yeah.
And so I always like to hear about your past in sports. So what was your first sports experience, whether it was as a young kid and all those different opportunities. So what was your first recollection of you being involved in sports, and then what was the evolution of that?
The first thing I can really remember with being in sports is I had this little rec soccer league that I was always in growing up, and I have a picture of me still playing that when one of those soccer games, of me going towards the wrong goal. And I think that that circles back to my experience in soccer and my experience playing team sports. I played basketball growing up because I was on the taller side of kids, until kids started getting to 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
But you put me in that key and I'm posted up against the frame, I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basketball and soccer were my big sports growing up. I liked being on team sports and in team environments, but track really drew me in high school. I didn't know anything about track and field until high school when one of my teachers ended up being our hurdle coach, and he saw me being a little bit taller, and he was like, "You need to run over these things." And ever since then, I was just off.
All right.
Yeah.
What grade was that?
I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay. So
Yeah.
did you do track as a freshman?
No, I didn't know anything about it because freshman was COVID, so I didn't really know.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew I was going to be going into soccer because my mom was friends with the coach already, and I had already been talking to him for a few years up until that point about joining the team for soccer. I didn't know anything about track up until then. Yeah.
Okay, so you got thrust into hurdles, which is probably
Yeah, exactly.
You got to sprint and maneuver.
Yeah.
So how did that first year of track go?
The first year of track was really it was kind of interesting because the only time I'd ever seen some somdogs was in high jump. And I remember being at a dual meet, and I had gone at something was hurting that day. I don't remember what. I think it might have been my back. But I remember just having to watch high jump and then watch hurdles and sit out that meet. But I watched some kids from this private school that our league was in, or that was in our league, and they ended up going over 6'4", just off of a 4-step approach. And I was like, okay, this is different. But besides that, there was no real competition for hurdles up until my junior and senior year. So I was kind of thinking I was the top dog. And it was interesting. My first practice, my coach just said, "Hey, just jump over these hurdles." And I don't know the spacing. I don't know how close they were, but he said, "I just want you to do what's comfortable." And I ended up one stepping between each one. I just lunged over each one, and he just looked at me like I was crazy, and he was like, "Okay, you're going to be doing this." But After that, it was just, I was just going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with track and field, obviously now you've been in it and competing at the collegiate level for a year and a half now, in the middle of your sophomore season. You look back at high school, what is something like you wish you knew as a high school student athlete? Now as you reflect, you're a little bit more mature, you've seen kind of the landscape of the track and field world. What is something that you wish you're like, dang, I wish I would have known that or been aware of that?
I wish from the start that I was lifting.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's not something more mental. It really was just our program really our athletics program really focused a lot on football. And that was something that really frustrated all the other sports. Because our track program was huge and we were not really winning, like we would win league championships because of our depth, and that was something that was always like, they're fine. They'll just learn technique and like learn what we could teach them. And then once they move on, then they can learn all that stuff. But my like late junior year and then through senior year is when I got a little more into lifting. That's when I learned about like power cleans and stuff. I didn't do hang cleans because they hurt, but very narrow Olympic lifting, and I just thought the power cleans and stuff would carry me through doing them like twice a week. When then I learned like later about plyometrics and stuff, and that stuff I just wish I had learned much sooner and had a much. I just wish that stuff was introduced a lot earlier, because a lot of people just. I think a lot of high school coaches, especially, because it's not exactly their main focus, because they'll be like teachers or something like that. They don't totally prioritize it as much because it takes a lot of time away, and they don't exactly have the availability. So that's definitely something that I wish was available sooner.
Okay, because if you're talking about if you had it more like a little bit sooner, you'd been able to apply it, and you think it would have.
I think it could have given me a greater opportunity for hitting different marks, because a lot of what carried me through PRs and stuff was the fact that I was watching a lot of video, like every hurdle race you could possibly find on YouTube was my visualization.
Okay.
Like I was looking at everything. There was like a little more. There were some coaches who were a little more advanced than what some high school coaches could give you. So I would like send my footage out to like some random people in like Michigan, and like
cool.
they would like review the footage and stuff. And
Cool.
it's a lot of like what I was missing a lot of was that strength to be able to like push a lot harder between the hurdles. My technique over the hurdle, for what it's worth, wasn't terrible. And that's what carried me through a lot, is that I was able to have that like form that I had seen and tried to like visualize from professionals and stuff. But I just didn't have the leg strength to like be able to push really hard and the frequency and stuff.
How'd you get into the decathlon?
The decathlon, we have another white boy here that looks like me named Luke Johnson. And I saw him training I saw him a little bit over summer doing like hurdles. I saw him doing a little bit of pole vault. And I was like, this looks very fun. And I wanted to try pole vault. I had talked to you at the beginning of the year, like I want to get into that. I feel like I could do okay in that. And then I remember at some point early in the season, you had tried had me throw jav a little bit. And then I remember seeing the training. I was doing the sprint stuff, and I remember something my coach had said in high school, of thinking like, you have some of the hardest events down technical wise. You could score pretty good in those. I think like you might be able to push yourself well in the decathlon. And at the time I was like, nah, I'm gonna take this as far as it can go. But then I did more thinking, and I was like, this is something that like really intrigues me. There's like an allure to the decathlon for sure. A lot of people talk about it being like, oh, I could never do a 15, or I could never do this or that or whatever. But if you really have the mindset of that, like, and you have like a curious kind of mindset, it's like, no, I kind of want to see what's up with that.
Cool.
And that was really it. And then we had a conversation about it, and it was over from there.
Yeah. I was very I was like, take your time, think about it, because once you go, it's hard to come back.
Yeah,
you know?
no turning back.
Yeah. Now going to the academic side thing, like, what's your major? What are you thinking about doing? Like, one day there will be somewhat life after track. You know, depends on who you are, but eventually, like, life happens, and you want to go into things. Like, what are some of your academic pursuits or your career goals?
Sure. I'm looking to get into kinesiology. I'm this year I'll actually have my AA in kinesiology from this school. And I'll be hopefully transferring out somewhere that I feel really fits who I am. And I want to study exercise phys. I want to get into like being able to help people perform their best, be healthy, whether it's just regular people trying to get into like physically good shape or athletes trying to optimize their like themselves. That's something I'd really like to look into. When it comes to careers with that, I think I have a lot to learn in that way. Like I don't think I'm super aware on like most careers, but I think like biomechanics is something that's very interesting to me. And I have a family member who got his master's in biomechanics and is currently working with baseball players to optimize swing speed and everything. And I think that's really cool. And I think like there's a lot of opportunity with that in track and field with jumpers, throwers, everything like that to be able to keep them healthy, but also optimize their performance. And I think that would be like the dream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you and I have had like some really good conversations. Like you ask really good questions. I think you're very intuitive in that way where you want to self-reflect so that you can grow. And
For sure.
you're not scared of, and you are willing to hear hard information and, you know, willing to have deep thought and some of those things. Where do you think you get some of that deep thought or curiosity or kind of that confidence because it does take a different type of person to intrinsically evaluate how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what you're doing. Where do you get that from? Or where do you think you kind of...
Well, I appreciate that, first of all.
Yeah.
But I think, like, I don't know if it's specific people that I would pull that kind of thing from. But I'd say, like, always in my mind, I've had an idea of growth does not come from sitting still. It comes from being able to put yourself forward and falling. Like where growth comes from is you take a tumble and you get back up and you keep pushing forward. Success does not come from sitting and watching and seeing other people do it. Like we were just talking about visualization, and visualization is a great thing. But if you don't apply yourself and figure out how it's going to work for you, then that's a big thing for me. But I honestly could not pinpoint like where exactly it comes from. I wish I could. I think my mom is somebody who I would say as a figure herself, she's quite confrontational. She does not mind like digging into people. You know, she'll and not in a bad way.
Yeah.
She just wants to get to the root. She wants the correct answer. She'll press about it, and I think that's very admirable in some ways. And I like to take that as like I can get information that I seek if I seek it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's people who ask me about very like what I think is kind of simple, and I like I don't mean to sound like rude about it, but I just like I try to tell them like they just have to do it. Like some athletes here who have been here for the same amount of time as me will ask me if they should talk to you about something. And that is crazy to me, that because every day we have a team meeting and you say, talk to me if there's anything going on. and then even people who will tell those tell other people like go talk to Rich, they won't talk to you about something. And I'm like, what is this double standard we have? Like I think, yeah, I know I'm kind of rambling, but yeah. I just I think people are afraid of something that they have no clue about. And how can you like I used to be scared of roller coasters as a kid, And then one day I
I
was
still
like,
am.
but I had a couple friends that I was like, oh, I don't know. And they were like, dude, just take the
Yeah.
leap. And ever since then, I try my best to just take leaps.
Yeah.
Like if you sit on the cliff for too long before jumping into the water, you're just going to walk away.
Yeah.
You know, you have to just go. And I think that is kind of a weird point that I rambled to, but I feel,
Yeah. No, and that's like, I don't think you realize how unique that is in the sense of there are a lot of people that will sit back and think about what they should do instead of just going and doing it. And if the consequence or the reaction isn't what they thought it was going to be, then you reverse engineer it and you try something different.
Exactly.
I was just talking to a young man about procrastination, and I was letting him know that like there was something not too long ago that it was big because it had big ramifications and it was a big thing.
Yeah.
And I procrastinated for like 3 weeks because I was hesitant on what the potential outcome would be. And it really stopped me from doing something that eventually took me 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It only took me 30 seconds.
Yep.
But it took me 3 weeks to do that 30-second thing.
It's crazy. Recently, I was like working on sending emails to coaches and trying to put myself out there. I'm like, I had talked to you about the same thing probably 3 times, and then I did it, and I was like, it took me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the simplest things, but it's like the fear of what could happen, like what could happen. But like, and then I just told myself, I was like, dude, the worst thing they could say is no.
Yeah.
Or nothing at all.
Yeah.
Like you might as well just throw it into the tube and see what happens.
And the craziest thing about it is that it's not that you're sitting back and like, I'm not going to do these emails because I'm self-conscious about what the potential outcome is. Like you're not telling yourself that, you're just procrastinating it. You're not even, it's not even entering that realm of like comprehension, because if it did, you'd be like, that sounds so stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you don't really think about it until after it's done.
Yeah. I watched a video recently too about like this thing called the heckler in your head. And it's fascinating to me because people don't know to not listen to the voice in their head. And there's like that voice in your head is a different person. You know, whether it becomes you is the actions you take. You know, but like intrusive thoughts, self-conscious thoughts, those are all thoughts. They're not actually towards anything other than what you make them out to be. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is that like you can think whatever you want about anything and nobody would know.
Yeah.
But the second you put it all out there, procrastination, for example, then all of a sudden you're making problems. And that's where you're letting like your mind control you, whether or without, or instead of you controlling your mind. And I think that's like, I think it's really important to like figure that out, and be able to like assert like, no, I control this domain, and I can like tell myself like, no, I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm going to do these emails. I'm going to do my assignment. I'm going to do my work, whatever.
Yeah, that was, I just thought about this right now. So one of my little tricks of it is that I have a very small circle, but in my small circle, I will almost speak into existence the thing that I know I'm procrastinating on. Even if I know an inkling of it, I'll say it to my small circle just so that kind of holds me accountable.
Sure.
And it's like, that is like my first step into getting things done. And when I go back to when I was talking to this young man, he was surprised that I procrastinate. Because it all started, part of the conversation was like, oh, you do this, you do that, you do a lot of different things. Like, why or how do you do it or whatever? And I'm like, I make mistakes all the time. There's things that I need to get done that just don't get done when I want them to get done. I give myself grace. I do the best I can when I can. And sometimes I'll fall short, but realistically, like I'll get it done. I'll get something done. I'll do it. And I figured out little tricks like, you know, I guess tapping my inner circle.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference too, is you will keep going.
Yeah.
You keep doing things. People will fail and they'll stop.
Yeah.
And that's that's unbelievable to me for some reason, is like too many people don't know that just beyond that threshold of what you consider failure is a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Like how long was I doing the exact same thing and making the exact same mistakes in pole vault before I finally just bucked up and did something different?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that is the stuff, but it's like a lot of people don't know that. They don't hear it from anybody else, and they don't do enough research to find out like, oh, I can have a breakthrough, you know? And I like, that's like, yeah.
Well, it's so important to have the right people in your life, or at least
For sure.
And there are some that maybe never had the opportunity to feel comfortable and confident enough to push past that. And that's one of the things that I feel that I'm constantly fighting as a coach and as a leader of people that might not be fully themselves yet or comfortable with who they are, is like, I'm constantly pushing and pushing and pushing so that they can and feel comfortable and confident that, hey, I'm not going to judge you if you fail. Like, we're going to fix it.
For sure.
But just constantly pushing. And that's where I find is like the sweet spot of coaching is being able to help others realize what they're capable of on their own.
Yes. Yes. I
can't do it. Like, they have to figure out on it, but I have to like guide them and give them a little bit of reassurance, a little bit of tough love.
Yeah. Bring a horse to water and hope it drinks.
Yeah. Or shove their head in the water.
Exactly.
We've had a lot of good conversations. I think what I want to know is just what are some reflections of some of the conversations that you had that, you know, that you feel have positively impacted you, or that you can remember?
I think the biggest one for me was our conversation about the funnel. We, last year I was going through some weird mental stuff, and for some reason it happens every year where it's just like something about off season really just gets in people's heads. You know, they're not seeing marks and they're not knowing exactly how well they're going to perform. So I had a conversation with you. I told you I was feeling doubtful and I was in a rough spot, and you had said that the information that you are pouring in, and you're pouring in a lot of it, is like a funnel. My brain is like a funnel for your information, and some stuff is going to get through, but as we continue, that funnel is going to get wider and wider and wider, and I'll be able to process more information. And it's true. Every day I learn something new, and I might not get it and I might not understand the purpose of it, but I am learning something and I am able to apply that maybe the next week. I'll be like, oh, I could think back to this, and now my body knows how to do it. And that's a conversation that has stuck with me. I think about the funnel all the time, and now I use it with other people. I've had conversations with a couple of our athletes that I feel could really utilize that kind of mindset of like, okay, I'm here right now, but if I just stick with this and if I keep on keeping on, the funnel's gonna get bigger and I will be able to process more, and it will get more complex and it'll get deeper, and you just cannot you cannot stop the information from coming in. And I think that is one that's really stuck with me.
Interesting. The reason I ask is because as a coach, sometimes we throw a bunch of stuff at our athletes and we don't know what sticks.
For sure.
I'm always surprised at like when individuals come back and like, I remember when you said this. And it's kind of like a running joke with athletes that have ever worked with me, because I go, I've never said that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like I'm constantly like dissecting and trying to evaluate individuals and see like, what do they need, right? It's not like what do I want to give them, it's like, what do they need?
Yeah.
And you never know what sticks, so I'm glad.
No, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
That one, that was a big one for me.
All right. What advice would you give like an incoming Falcon? Like, so somebody's in high school right now thinking about where to go to school, and maybe they're considering Cerritos, but like, what was some advice you would give them as they kind of embark on this journey to figure out what school to go to, and once they kind of get started?
I would tell them to give it everything. Like, sacrifice the time. I even still, I make the mistake of maybe choosing one thing over the other, but I have grown a lot in being like, no, practice is priority. And I've seen a lot better results than I've ever have before in the fact that like I don't ditch practice, I don't skip practice. I'm here longer than I need to be. I'm here earlier than I need to be. And it sounds so daunting, but it's so much easier than people really think to just give it everything you got. And I think like really the more that you pour in as an athlete, the more the coaches can pour into you, because yes, coaches are there for the athletes, but coaches are people too. They're not just robots for like the vessel of an athlete. Like they are there to see an athlete succeed and pour into an athlete as much as they are willing to give. There's athletes that I feel like you can only say so much to, because there's only so much that will not get them to like break down. And I think like as an athlete, if you are able to pour in more and more and more, the coaches can pour in more and more and more. And even if you might not end up being the best athlete, you learn so much as an athlete of like time management, of just personal growth. You realize things about yourself. And the more that you're able to give 100% of yourself to, it doesn't even have to be track, to literally whatever sport you do, the more that it will give back to you.
Yeah, for sure. I've watched you like, because you want to stay healthy, and being healthy, especially as a decathlete, is like almost a full-time job in and of itself outside of the training and regular life, and coming early and doing those little things. Because one thing that I'm really big on is, as a coach, is if something doesn't go well, it's my fault. And if my athletes do what I tell them, when I tell them, and how I tell them, then if they do well, that's on them because they earned it and they've worked towards it. But if it doesn't go well and they did everything I said, I take full responsibility, and I have to now look and see, okay, what can I do different? How can I fix it? How can I, make this better so this doesn't happen again?
Sure.
And so taking on that responsibility it's tough when, like you said, when people cut corners and shortcut, then it's like I'm almost having to not only guide you, but also fill in the gaps that you're creating.
Yeah.
And it's hard, and it's part of the maturation process, and not everybody steps into this world fully mature.
Yeah. And and you can't expect them to sometimes too, I feel like, because they're just coming out of high school. You don't know what they got going on at home and stuff. But the difference between those that excel and those that remain are the people who are willing to change and grow and step outside of themselves. Because I've known a few athletes on our team to break that barrier of like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make it through. And then there's some who are like, my mom's got this thing. And it's like, dude, your mom's always gonna have this thing. Like I'd say that's like huge. And I can't say all this and not admit that I haven't cut corners myself, and we've had to rework a lot of programs because of me cutting corners or somebody else, and it's evident when we do, I feel like. But I think what I can at least say is that I've realized like what cutting corners does, and what like really can change if you just commit to 30 minutes of stretching at night. It's not that hard. You just have to do it, and your body will like continuously feel better after workouts.
You mean you can't just do it one day?
I know, right? It's weird.
For the whole season?
It's very strange.
It is a lifestyle, and I can definitely say that you've accepted that concept of, to be a high-performing athlete, like you have to make it your lifestyle.
For sure.
And that's tough. But I want to now kind of, bring everything back full circle and see what are some of the big takeaways you've had, comparing your first year at Cerritos going into your second year.
I think the biggest takeaway is the fact that, it's kind of hard. These 2 years have been like very different in my head. The expectations been different. But I've been actually trying to rework it to have a similar expectation as my freshman year. because my mindset was, oh, I'm gonna have next year. Like I can have fun right now. This is a big learning thing, and now for some reason my mindset is like, this is my performance year, you know, where like I'm gonna I'm gonna have some big breakthrough or something like that. But it's a process of small breakthroughs. I would say before I ended up pulling my hamstring last season, I had a series of small breakthroughs in a couple events, and like the fact that I think a little differently now of like I should have already had all my breakthroughs and now this is where I need to be putting out big stuff is kind of crazy to me, because literally just yesterday I felt like I had a little hurdle breakthrough. And you know, it's like, if I can really think about like a takeaway, it's that I need to keep having fun. And like I bring competitive energy wherever I go. Like no matter the meet, no matter the circumstance, I'm bringing that competitive energy. Win or lose, I'm going to be a hard-working competitor. But I think what I also need to remember is to still be my fun self and like bring that fun, like I know what I've learned this week and I'm going to bring that into this meet. And I don't want to lose that fire, because I think when people lose that fire is when they burn out.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've already almost gotten to that point, and I had to like tear myself away from it by figuring out some other habits, and I don't want to do that again. So I'm just like, that's probably the biggest thing. But stretching is probably my biggest one, because I got my season cut short because I did cut corners, and I thought I was stretching really often, but I think learning about timing, frequency of how often you're stretching, what you're doing, is really, really important.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest thing of like mobility and flexibility is one of the biggest attributes along with strength training.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like, yeah.
As we wrap up, again, you know, meeting a Falcon, it's always going to be cool to kind of like look back at this and, you know, all that. But then also for future Falcons, because there's going to be people that might have some of the same little struggles or insights that you have, and I can be like, hey, go check Logan Smith's little podcast out so you can see and kind of hear from him. But as we wrap up, the last thing, what is your most memorable experience thus far at Cerritos?
Most memorable experience so far. Oh my gosh. What am I supposed to say? Like, there's so much of my life has like changed here, of like the people I know, and like the experience I've had the whole time here at Cerritos has been its own freaking crazy experience. I guess most like impactful to me was last year I did the regional decathlon injured. And I finished the whole thing. I did the whole thing, didn't quit on anything. I got a mark in every event. But finishing that 15 behind, like a whole lap and a half behind everybody, I like broke down, and I told myself, I was like, I'm going to be here next year and I'm going to be dominating. And I think like, I think I literally like told my family, like we were all crying, and I told my family, I was like, this is not happening again. And I think that was a big thing for me, because it's like almost like a light switch has just flicked the way that I think about things, and the way that I'm like approaching like everything here now. And I think that was probably the most memorable.
Awesome.
For me. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for our episode of Becoming Uncommon, Meet a Falcon edition with Logan Smith. Definitely check us out this season. We have our regional decathlon coming up. And for us, like the heptathlon decathlon is a big part of my identity and what I feel our identity here at Cerritos College is. So definitely check us out. I feel that Logan's going to be doing some big things here in the future, but more importantly, he's a leader. He is somebody that has helped me grow as a coach because of his self-confidence and intuitiveness. Might not feel confident all the time, but but being able to stick with it no matter how hard I push him, and be able to come out the other end, and I can see that level of growth. And I think you're a true representation of what it is to be a student athlete that's willing to go through the fire and take their body and their mind and their spirit to the next level. So definitely proud to have you, and good luck this year.
Appreciate you, Coach.
All right.